spread monsters, stuff like that. So there's obviously people use it for different things. I like to really keep it really stupidly simple. So I do a lot of swinging. A lot of my more intraday trades are really done on cues, kind of similar to what you guys see with Russell every morning. Look for side exits, A, B, tabletops, all that fun stuff. Um, I have a couple different things I want to go over. Got a couple examples on a couple swing trades, as well as some things intraday. I'm going to go over today on cues, how you could have watched for that side exit, call side, and see that continuation into our market maker ceiling. But yeah, Drew, if you want to introduce yourself real quick, say what's up to everybody.
What's up, everybody? How we doing? What we got in here, Ryder? What's up?
We go Ryder, bro. Everybody's in here. I love it.
I'm gonna go over swing setups. I typically stick to swings. Not too much intraday, but some of these swing plays do end up being intraday plays. You'll see why. But that's what I'm gonna go over. Keep it nice and simple for you guys. Very entry level stuff.
Test. I just changed my volume. Does that sound a little bit better? Do I need to go higher?
What about me?
You sound good, Drew. Higher? Real quick.
I hear you fine. That's weird.
You gonna have to turn me down. All right, I turned it up a little bit higher. I'm at 87 now. So I'm gonna go over, share my screen real fast. Sent over Drew a couple of the examples that we're gonna cover. Personally, I wanted to go over a recent swing trade that we had. That being Uber. What we saw in this, I was looking here at the wave 7. I'll zoom it in for a little bit closer for everybody. Looking at the wave 7 here, this was back on the 14th. You can see we had vector here, 95.58. With that being said, with that being breaking, if that broke, we would initiate a new bear cycle. From there, I know it's a little bit blurry. Let me take you guys over to my actual software. But below there, we had our open state around that 91. That was our original target on those. Those contracts alerted them around mid 20s, around 26. What I got them for. A couple days later, you're seeing side exits take those up all the way up to 180, and that's all simply off of a bearish cross, starting a new cycle. Let me take you guys over here. And this is how those contracts did from our original thesis that morning of 14th. Looking for those. You see, once we got that side exit, low of these was at 19 cents. You see how Vector holds. If you guys have that trading view script, that thing is golden. I also have linear regression on. I'm a big fan of the flow bands. I know some people don't like to have too much stuff on their screen. Essentially, you could just watch for side exits and play to your actual fractal levels and be good enough. That was the example on Uber there. If I take you guys back over to that wave 7. You can see how that panned out, which kind of in between, if I turn my percent probables on, you can see we have that 50% there at that 88.99. It's going to be pivotal for us. So if we do lose this, we can achieve further open states down here, 86.37. We also got our 20% there, 85.33 to target. But as you guys can see, it's kind of just following this chart. I like to say 50 to 50 a lot of the time, because that's essentially where you see a lot of price action. I mean, on these charts, going off of the percent probables, you see a lot of in between action here. one of the first things I heard when I was introduced to this chart, and I when I first got into fractals, I was like, what am I looking at? Especially coming from what you see on social media like ICT, just a lot of price, just reading price action. This is whole new to me. Something that really simplified it for me was thinking of it. So we got our pivot here. You can see we have 95.56. I like to think of it like you have a nail at one end of your pivot and you have another nail down here. If you were to take a rubber band and connect those two nails, I like to play it the longer you stretch that band is when you're looking for that reversal or potentially. So the quicker the pullback. So what that means, kind of off that 50 to 50, you can see kind of a lot of the time we try to establish support down here and potentially start a new bullish cycle. Where that would being we held this 88, go back into 93s. That's going to be pivotal. If it's reclaimed, then we have continuation into 95, 98, and so forth. That is on Uber. That's a recent swing we had. Going into kind of how I go into the morning every day looking at Qs. Typically, I like to go with wave 10, 15-minute. Those are active in RCG. Understand that's more of an intraday time frame compared to like a wave 7, wave 20, 3 to 5,000 days of load, etc. But I like to use that wave 10 as well as the wave 1. Why? Because they're constantly seeing reversion. I like to see quick pullbacks, quick see it returning to a previous state very frequently. If we go to like a wave 1 real quick, and I'll actually get these sent out because I need to chart myself. Extend that a bit. So essentially how I would go into tomorrow looking at this, um, seeing where the vectors are, right? For this wave 1, we got 561.80s. If we go back to that wave 10, we see we got 561.20s. So that 561.80 to 561.82, I mean, that's going to be very pivotal into tomorrow. So what that means, right? If we're holding above and that support, this wave 1 bullish cycle will remain intact. And if that be the case, then we can see continuation or price action press into higher targets. For example, we have our ceiling here, 563.02, as well as an open state 564.55. That's just going off of wave 1. With a move like that, we would see wave 10 revise, as that would be an outlier because you can see wave 10s here at our 5% probabilities, indicating that, hey, it is pretty extended. That's why it's always good to get a look at different time frames, especially for what you're looking for. Comparing if you like to hold positions for a couple months, a year, a week, a day. Good to understand what you're looking for out of this system. And the cool thing is it provides it for all. So wave 10, what we're showing us, okay, if this 561's lost, we'll see price action revert down. We got 80% down here, 560, 60, as well as a 50 at 560.34. Those will be first targets. From there, in this last imprint we have here, this black dash that you guys see, if we go over and get that value, let's say 560.32 is that value for that imprint. We have white space all the way down to 559.05 next imprint, and then we got our 20% here at that 558.09. That just going off this wave 1. Where if we go back to like wave 10, wave 1, flip flopped. Same thing with this wave 1, right? If we lose this 561, just take the whole dollar amount. If we lose this 561, you're going to see price action revert. Supporting that being support 557.66 open state, 557.52, 80% downside cluster. Those would be your first supports underneath. That's just not even going off of what we have on trade on TOS also. So those are whole different ball games, especially if you're looking for intraday moves. Go from there. I always go and load in my market maker ceiling and floor for the next day. That load.
It always takes a while.
Thanks. Kind of moody. Sometimes it's fast. Sometimes you got to give it a little bit. Although I know you guys probably already know about the tool. You could actually push MM. It's on the toolbar to the very right. Doing that actually will have the values update real time for you guys, so you guys don't have to run it through here. Or you could also use MooseBot. MooseBot, my best friend. So, and then after this, I got a couple different setups that we're looking for. But yeah, here's Q's ceiling floor price. I'm gonna take a screenshot because I need that. So we got 563.49 being ceiling. Currently, Q's at 562.30s. We got our dead zone pretty tight, 561.80 to 561.24, and as well as our floor 532. That's a little skewed. The data might need to rerun that, or that would be crazy move. You never know. That's essentially what I go over on Q's. Spread Monster 2, I like to always run above 80% on the statistics side. So density, and go run that for tomorrow. I know RCG has a video on their YouTube channel going more in depth of this with Russell. Highly suggest checking that out if you guys have not done that yet. This is something I use always day to see where white line is, win rate. But that win rate, I always have it higher than 80% being shown. Can show us like call walls, stuff like that. Spaghetti monsters, seeing where price is intertwining and bid and ask. Couple different setups I wanted to go over though, kind of going into the swinging side, similar to the Uber example I showed earlier. So I showed it. I'm just gonna pull it up. For example, one of them being MRK. So MRK wave 7 daily here. Currently, as I speak, holding around 81.55. So we are below that wave 7 vector. What do we look for below that? We're looking for new bearish cycle to form. Same with the Uber. All right, we got our open states. Fractals literally telling you where to target. We have our open state down here at 79.38. That is my first target. On this one, for example, on wave 7, we're obviously looking for, you always try to account for like a week to 2 weeks out, sometimes 3 weeks for these setups to really pan out, which is better than, a wave 1 or wave 10 where you're seeing reversion daily. These typically take a couple more days to pan out, as you guys probably already know. So below that, want to see this one get down to that 79.38. Another thing I like about this, if you guys don't use a standard deviation bar down here, it's very, 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 very nice. We have this little golden pocket that's 0.1. We talk about this a lot. Typically, just a simplified explanation is kind of just gives us an indication of when the move is ready to happen. There's been a lot of scenarios you can see kind of chop. For example, NVIDIA a couple months ago, trying to establish that bottom. Took a couple days to pan out. Standard deviation took us right back down, and then we get it back up. But for this example, with MRK, I really want to see this one. It doesn't have to touch that golden pocket, but it's obviously down, not extended, not testing our 2.0s or anything like that. So this one I want to see start a new bearish cycle where eventually I like to see that 79. And let me go pull those contracts up real quick. Contracts currently, as I speak, around 37 cents. So, see how that one pans out. Similar to the Uber setup that we guys just went over. Another one that I have is Roku. We go to that Wave 7. Similar thing goes with Roku. We are currently fighting with that Wave 7 vector. We haven't officially closed below it. So as I speak, chilling at 90 and 50 cents. Um, so obviously want to see this Wave 7 daily vector crack. And if we can crack that 89, 87, we look good to go right back to this 85.99 open state. That one looks very nice in my opinion. Similar price range for those. We're loading in the 85s for 725, currently 39 cents. So another setup, just simply playing, I honestly, I wish I could, make it sound more complicated than it is. Playing new bearish and bullish cycles. I mean, and just understanding what you're looking for. I know some people, they like to, depend micro or macro. Just understanding what you're trying to see. If you're looking, longer term, I'd probably load in like a wave 20, 5,000 to you could even put up to 15,000 days of data in this system. Long, that's for longer term analysis versus, what you're looking for to happen within a week. I'd probably stay in, wave 7, wave 1, wave 10. I know some people use wave 25 minute. And that's the cool thing about this system is there's so many different ways to optimize it. And it's really cool, seeing a whole community come together, learning from one another, and so forth. But that's a lot that I had. Hopefully, I was able to show something new. I know, like I said, you guys have the creators of this in here dropping gems daily. So hopefully, I was able to, make some things maybe sound easier. But yeah, Drew, you got anything?
Yeah, I'm gonna go over my swing setups, how I choose what tickers I go about them. Can't share my screen though. It's not letting me. If I can get permission to do so.
I can pull it up if you need to.
Yeah, do Cisco. That was last week's play.
You know, wave 7.
Yeah. And then you could go to our DM so you get the full analysis breakdown. What I was looking
Oh yeah,
for.
hold up. Yeah. There we go.
Nice. So Cisco had a double bottom um, being presented. If you guys don't know about double bottom, the system will show it when it has a 51% chance of achieving that. So that's like one of my favorite plays, especially when it's close to like a 80% to 50% probability band. Especially with that standard deviation chart BG explained. That's when the move will be ready. Usually it's ready when we're about crossing vector, as you can see. I like when it flatlines just how it is right now. That means volatility should be coming in. Another trick I use when looking at the standard deviation chart is just looking at previous days of data and just seeing how we reacted when we got to that point 0.1 area. Pull up Cisco now. I was looking for puts below 68.99.
That one looks good for another move.
Yeah, bearish retracement. This was a swing. I swung that from Wednesday to Friday. Those peaked at like 250% plus. Filled those around 9 cents. They peaked around like 36 cents, I believe so. Very beautiful play. Another thing I liked about this play was just that open state. That open state is just, it's a dead giveaway, especially when it's at 80% probability. It's like a huge target. Open states have to get closed out. We don't know when, but we can have an idea. Let's see. So that was Cisco. That happened last week. If you could pull up GLD, that is a current one I'm looking at. I'll explain what.
Cisco looks good to start a new bullish cycle above that 68.23.
Mhm. So this is GLD. Been chopping around our pivot at 306.65. Looks like we are barely above our vector, but the reason why I like this a lot, you could turn on the probability bands as well, BG. This is what I look out for, is the ranges from pivot to 80% upside. So from vector to 80% upside, that's almost a $10 move being presented. A $10 move on GLD is pretty huge. And another way I pick my contracts expiration is I'll just look at previous days, or I'll look at the top left above pivot statistics and just see how long we usually stay above pivot, or I'll just count and get like an average. So typically I'd say it takes like a week for us to achieve that 80% upside. This is a huge move. And again, we are tapping into our 0.1 standard deviation, so we can see volatility creeping in. First target being that open state. That is still a big move if we could catch that on a 0 DT tomorrow. What is that? 311.72. That would be a nice target as long as we hold above vector. And it's pretty much white space from there, from pivot to 2%. You guys don't know what white space is? It's when there is no support or resistance. You'll see no hash marks you see on the right side of the graph. There is no, you just see level to level. Like from there to there, that is considered white space. There is nothing to catch support on that. So that's another indication and confluence I would use to my advantage. And again, 80% probability we hit 316, which it may update. There is a couple instances that it has updated on me before. So I like to stick contracts based off our 2%. So I'd go with like 312s, 311s, just to be safe if it does happen to update. Because this is just showing for tomorrow that we have 80% probability of hitting 316.20 on the daily. And again, this is the daily chart. This is mainly swings, so you are going to see drawdown. Like Cisco, those went like negative 30% before reaching 250% plus. So you have to be sizing accordingly, right? What me and BG like to say is size what we could watch go to zero. Of course, you're not going to let it go to zero, but that will remove the emotions out of your trade, especially with swing trades. Another one you could pull up is PG Procter Gamble. That was another play I did send out last week as well. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So if you look at the standard deviation chart, look where we kind of just flatlined on that golden zone, right? And then once we lift off of that, look at the major move we made. If you look at previous days of data, if you look on that left-hand side, when we cross pivot to the upside, look what happened. We tapped into that golden zone, which we like to call, and we ripped. So this is why I pay attention to that standard deviation chart. Before, I had no clue that it existed. I don't know how I found out about it, but I was messing around, and then I happened to like just look at previous days and be like, huh, every major move or starting the new trend, we tapped into the golden zone and we rally, or we'll have a good daily candle. That's pretty much my strategy. We could talk more about pre-market highs and pre-market lows and market open. You want BG? Pull up Thinkorswim or TradingView, whatever is easier. Mm-mm. Does anyone have questions about what I went over before I head on to this? Mm-mm-mm-mm. So when it comes to intraday part of trading, which I don't do too often because I am a swing trader, um, we look for pre-market high and pre-market low, right? So if we have a big pre-market high and pre-market low, less likely to make a, a move. We'll just have a range day. We're either just going to tap on one side or the other and keep in range. Um, Anything within that range, anything above those ranges or below those ranges. So if we cross pre-market low, that's when you'll see expansion moves being presented. Um, Let me see if I could find a good example.
Today's honestly a great example. So
So,
just
yeah,
looking at
go
my
ahead.
chart here, top middle is my Q chart. Um, Over here I run call side and put side, whatever contracts of interest I have. But as you see, kind of following up on what he just stated, so we had our pre-market high here, and that's what we were watching it for today. It's around this 559, 30, 34. Um, Same thing. If we go into the open, just essentially break down what he just said. Everything within pre-market range is range. Expansion only presents pre-market high is used as support to achieve higher. Our pre-market low is used as resistance to achieve lower. Today is just another beautiful example of such. Um, we kind of held daily, held 5 minute vector all day, so that's given us a bullish indication on intraday point of things. But same thing when you guys are just marking out this high a day. Another great example. I mean, not high a day, but pre-market high. Once we got to this area, essentially that's like a rule of two, how I view it. Rule of two without high. So from there, it's crucial to see a retracement back to vectors, and that's when it's decision time. From there, that's a lot of the point of time, the great best time to enter. Contracts get a sharp turn, and sometimes that's for the better. But essentially, you can see what we did here on my cursor. I mean, swept that PM high, came back, made the decision, saw expansion into our first ATR, and that was also our market maker ceiling and floor price from today. Um, and that's kind of just following up from what he was stating with PM high, PM low. Another thing I want to touch on since I'm talking about Q is I don't know if everybody here uses it, but daily open. I love daily open. Um, I think of it just a market given pivot point, right? Every morning I'm going into the day, especially the first 30 minutes before 10 a.m. Hey, are we north or south of our 5 minute vector and our daily open? One of the first two things I look for. And I plan my downside, plan my upside for those accordingly. Do you still need me on this, Drew?
We could talk about when there is no side exits on put side and call side. That'd be like no trade, kind of no brainer, but that does happen.
Yeah. Yep. Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good point. We see that a lot of time. I don't know if we go over 10 a.m. rule. I have a 10 a.m. rule. No highs or lows set. Kind of just giving me indication for range. From there, I'll just set alerts at my high a day, low a day, because I'm looking to play expansion moves. I can stay here and trade chop all the time, but I don't. It's not really. I'd rather be doing other things, honestly. Um, so yeah, from there, normally we'll see, either calls and puts holding vector, which is on the very left side of my screen here that you guys are seeing. So like I said, top side's call side, bottom side's put side. Um, a lot of those times you'll see, like I said, a side exit holding on both sides, and that's typically just indicating me indecision. I want to see, and from there I look for one to invalidate the other to then make one valid. So if that means, both are holding support, I want to see, let's say our call side break the side exit and our put side continue momentum with the side exit, if that makes sense. That's just something I tie in with 10 a.m. rule. 10 a.m. rule is crucial. Looking for high or low set. Failure to do so, I automatically kind of just assume chop days. From there, I look for moves to be made into 1300, 1500, and 1550. Those are crucial points I watch for. And then even 1550 if for my DGens out there. Sometimes we'll see a nice 1,500%er in the last 10 minutes of open. Be some good moves. Yeah.
Mhm. Let's see. I'm gonna see
We'll
the
say if you
chart.
guys don't have this the vector applied either on TOS or on your trading view, highly suggest it. They have the resources for you linked here in the RCG. Yeah, I definitely recommend.
Anybody have questions about what we went over? Now's the time. I'd be glad to explain what I just went over if you didn't understand a thing or two. Very,
Can you
very
guys hear
simple.
me now?
What's up, Milk? Yeah.
Hey, I'm
What's up,
pretty
Mel?
impressed with you guys. Like, I want to kind of do a little more introduction, like BG and Drew. You guys do a lot of study sessions in your server and do it almost nightly. So it's pretty informative what you guys do. You guys go over this over and over and over again. And I really enjoy that. I try to pipe in every once in a while, obviously not as much as I'd like to, but I really enjoy those a lot.
I appreciate it. It means a lot coming from you guys. Like I said though, none of this would be possible without you guys and your team.
Strong 2 years I've
So
been
you guys
using
are
this.
so that's why I honestly kind of came into this call. I was like, I feel like I'm just gonna repeat like what these guys are saying, but like they're like times 10. But
Well, that's kind
I
of the
like to step
power with this. That's kind of the power with the system. Like, we call it the system, but in reality, it's data, right? So we
yeah.
aggregate it in a form that is readable. And, depending on how you trade, I can use it one way, Russell uses it one way, Moose uses it one way, you use it one way. Like there's so many ways to, utilize the functionality of it. And like I do my thing day in, day out, and like how you guys do your thing day in, day out, and Russell does, like it's I still learn new things every day. Russell does too, like it's just pretty powerful.
And you learn from the entire community. That's what I'm saying. Like this community is awesome, man. Who and that's what I see things in chat. I'm like, damn, I need to learn that. Like, I believe the username user. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, user. Yep.
Yeah, yep. Like with his end of day predictions, not even predictions. I hate that. That's a terrible word for that. It's all data driven. But his posts, I mean, there's so many things to take off of your relationships here too. Is learn from the person next from you, and that'll get you far.
And you see the new update we put on there? Well, I shouldn't call it an update, but the new addition there
Is
on the
it
Fractal System with
is it
users tag. It gives the end of day
oh
predictions.
how do you get that? I'm still streaming.
Go back into the Fractal System.
I have to change screens. Oh, there you go.
There we go.
The icon all the way in the top right that has users kind of icon on it,
Oh man.
right below the back arrow. Right below the back arrow. Yep.
Oh there.
Oh,
Oh, right
right there.
here.
Yep. End of day prediction right there. Yep. So every time we touch a new high or new low, usually 2 p.m. If we don't create a new high or new low, it gives a stupid accurate prediction. And this is formulated kind of off in what Russell's, given out quite a bit. So
Yeah.
every day you can do this on the Qs, on SPY,
Oh yeah.
and have end of day prediction. See, estimated close or approximate close. Hmm.
See, guys, and that's to prove my point. It's
I didn't even notice it
I
there.
just learned something new. See, That should
So when you
make you guys excited to be part of this community.
Yeah, I mean it is a community, right? And when we talk about community, it's not like me, Russell, Moose. It's everybody.
Every
Like you guys all like bring up new, you know, convictions on certain data points, how to use functionality, and we just keep building on it. Russell keeps cranking away. Russell hasn't put it out yet, but there's a new update that'll be coming out semi soon. If he wants to hop on stage, he can. If he wants to give a shout out, but he's been cranking away on this update that'll be coming out here within the next couple weeks, I think. So
You've been
it'll,
in the basement.
yeah, it's gonna empower a lot of things that we've been building towards. When we move towards automation with the servers, so like with the community, being the subscription base, it's enabling us to be self-sustainable, add a lot more horsepower on the hood, more servers, live data, doing a lot of things that we can build into automation. So like these strategies that you guys are using, we'll be able to build these out, so to speak, so you can automate some of these function forms.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're working towards right now.
That's really cool. Do you guys do anything with the texting yet, or is that still? Am I late or?
Well, the text alerts,
Mm-hmm.
that is in the works currently too as well with this next update.
Oh man, I'm excited. You guys should be as
So,
well.
we are. I mean, there's still like 10 years of work ahead of us,
Yeah,
but
I know you. Russell's like, stop talking about it. I gotta work.
yep, his wife's like, come out of the office, dude. You gotta stop working.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Oh, this is being
Crazy how
recorded, right?
much work. I believe so.
Is this gonna be on YouTube?
Yes, it's being recorded right now,
Sweet.
so that way you
Just
guys can share it, and everybody that's hasn't been able to tune in, to live, they can listen to it later too. And I want to make sure too, we want to collaborate with everybody. Like, it's a community. Obviously, RCG is kind of the hub of fractals, but everyone like you guys, Blazen trades, you guys Discord, you guys do homework, do these study sessions almost every night. Many other communities do that as well, and we want to promote that. We want everybody to succeed and learn how to use it in all facets and functions as well.
Sure. Well, does anybody have any questions, real quick, or anything that we should touch back on? Or I think we went over a lot. I'll be honest.
Anybody has questions, you can step up on stage if you'd like. Don't be shy.
I just think it's crazy how much stuff has been updated from the system from like 2 years ago.
Yes. Yes.
Just crazy. You guys are very lucky.
All of these new updates and the new infrastructure we got in place now, updates should roll out. I don't want to call it faster, but kind of faster and more powerful. Russell's, been working tirelessly on cranking these out. So, and then there's some other things that are coming out with MooseBot too, to aid in functionality with the Fractal System. So you guys want to make sure and watch out on that.
Just an
We
example.
do have a
You guys don't mind. Drew, do you still trade futures? I'll be honest. I do not trade futures. I do know somebody in this call that does, and he's very good at it.
Who would that be?
Who would that be? I honestly, anything futures related, I'd go with Milk. Just seen his yellow box. Drew, I know Drew has used yellow box before when he used to trade futures. We also got another trader named Natty straight killer with it. If you haven't checked out Yellow Box Method, or not even method, I hate the word, strategy, definitely go check that out. I know he's got tons of videos on it. Streams it all every day also. Yeah, I'm more of an options personally.
So to answer TRS's question, just an example of intraday futures trade, if you guys don't mind. When we start to look at, futures markets, obviously they're representative of the underlying, what is the basket? So I primarily specialize in ES, which is the S&P, and that coincides with, SPY, and SPX. So every day when we're looking at the yellow box, as I post it, it's based on the 760/50 off the fractal system, and that gives us our range parameters day in, day out. So like, think about it as driving. If you're gonna go drive somewhere, obviously today we have GPS for everything, but you want a roadmap, right? So it's kind of like our GPS. If we know our range every day, like on your vehicle, so you have a 350-mile range on your vehicle, well, you know exactly how far you can travel every day, right? So that's kind of the power with that, you know, on the 760/50, giving us our yellow box, we can see every day what our range functionality is because it's measured off an historical volatility off the last 50 days. And so that's an accurate representation of the current volatility. Now, if volatility contracts or expands moving forward, it'll adjust for that. So when we use that every day, it's kind of our roadmap. And then obviously we can layer in other components. So like when I layer in the IV walls, the IV walls are our implied volatility for the forward session, what market makers are pricing in. So if we layer in our 760/50 yellow box with our IV wall, we have a pretty good range on the full day. And then there's also, if you look at the overnight floor and ceiling values, pair that together, and when they all line up, and this is what I like to call paired data. When you have 2 or 3 data points aligning, it's kind of like the stars aligning, saying, "Aha, here's your moment." So it's super powerful in that functionality. And then when we move into the intraday live RTH session, regular trading hours, we have the OMM, which updates the implied volatility positioning for market makers for the current session. So we can absolutely get good reads on that, knowing where market makers are positioned, saying, we're capped here, here's the support and floor for the bottom for the day. And usually when we start to look at that, and this can be carried across all ticker bases, Big on kind of posting that every day too. When we're looking at like Coinbase and stuff for today, we look at where's the ceiling at, where's the floor at intraday, where market makers position. And a lot of people are typically, comfortable, when they say like JEX, they're like, hey, market makers are positioned here and there. Well, OMM, ceiling and floor values, is nothing like JEX. It has nothing to do with the Greeks. It's actually just formulated in a whole different fashion. And it's pretty powerful when we look at that day in, day out. And it's almost ridiculous, knowing where market makers are positioned every day within a 90% or greater, rate. I mean that's something that's hugely actionable. So I utilize that day in, day out. And then I also use kind of some other data that'll be implemented in the system kind of later down the road. where we see some other positioning aspects in the market, which are pretty powerful, kind of like we see with like my pivot values and other aspects to that accord. So like layering these data sets, and especially like, kind of like what Blazen and Drew were showing tonight, looking at, the probable bands, are we extended? Where are open states as targets? How do we have the mechanics? How do we usually react to often open states, BG?
A lot of the times I'll see these things get to damn near to the penny.
Mm.
And then we'll see the either retracement, etc.
And this,
Comparing it to my recent one with Uber, like
yeah, it's pretty powerful. I mean, when we look at these open states, they're absolute targets. But then we also know these are huge risk off points. Usually they're like spot on or within a couple cents. And, we know risk off, or we look for reversion setups and then we pair it. If we're looking for reversions or caps, we look at the other time frames. So like what you have up with NQ right now, the 760, if we target up there to the next open state, we can look at the smaller time frame down to a, wait 10, 15 minute and be like, hey, do we have a 10% or 5% pro band there? And then if we compare it to with like, the 51, and if we have 2 or 3 data points that align, say, hey, our probabilities are higher, are like less than 5%, well, that's pretty indicative of cap session or reversion. So we know full risk off, and we can put positions on for the counter trade, if we want to do that as well. And I love doing that. I love going through the multiple time frames, like 760 for kind of looking for the forward session. You can map out the forward session pretty well. And then when we're in regular trading hours, active session, looking at the touch smaller time frames, the 10, 15, the 51, the 25, pairing those all together when they all align together, it's pretty powerful.
yeah, just keep stacking the confluences, the stacking vectors, stack open states.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, really, exactly. Thank you. 264s here. Well, I mean, it is trying to cross vector. Let's see if it breaks. It's funny that lines up right with our 5-minute here on TOS. But
Beautiful. And then T Tipsy had a question. I've been looking into the 7 mil QQQ stuff lately, but I don't understand how it quite works. Could you explain that? So every ETF indice has what we call a sweet spot. For QQQ, the 7 mil exposure number is the sweet spot for market makers. Now, when you look at like SPY, it tends to be the 12 mil mark. And when SPX data is reactivated or built back out and finished, that's 120 mil because it's kind of like 10x of what SPY is, so to speak. So those become really good targets every day and really good risk off because market maker exposure is where they want to target, but they really don't want to exceed. Obviously, they can adjust and it'll adjust a little bit, but when you pull that data value at kind of near open around 9:40, 9:45 a.m. Eastern, those targets get hit more often than not. And it's kind of one of Amoeba's specialties that he's done over the years because he's been with us a long time. And, we have a built out Moose bot now where it kind of auto post it. So you have those targets every day. Tomorrow's going to be a little bit different, with the OPEX. So we're going to have kind of the overnight, like right now, if you were to look at the option analyzer, like you did earlier, Drew, You were looking at the
Yeah,
cues on the
top
option
30.
analyzer, how it looks skewed. That's because of OpEx. The floor looks insanely far away.
Yeah, I looked at that. I was like, that.
Yeah.
That'd be a crazy move.
But it's because of the rebalancing in the options market. So I don't want to call it faults because it could happen, but it's due to rebalancing.
Hopefully, you guys took some notes. Lots of gems dropped.
So your preferred time to run this is like 9:50, right? 9:45.
Yeah, for the exposure rate, if you're looking at the Qs, the 7 mil mark, about 940, 945. On SPY, I kind of look at it around 945 for me personally.
There we go. Yeah, it's like the 532.
Much love, Ryder. You have a good night.
Thank you, BG. WWW. I appreciate you guys really tuning out. Like, kind of was a little bit nervous, I'm gonna be honest.
Oh, you guys do awesome. You guys do it every night. So,
I appreciate it. Just got all these heads. I do appreciate everybody coming out. I already said.
but I want to give a shout out to BG and Drew do these study sessions like almost every night over in Blazen Capital. So if you guys want to like stop in and see what they're doing, have questions, study with them, feel free to do so. Kind of utilize the resources at hand.
Come hang out with us. Hang out, find some bangers.
And market open, I would want to see that hold. If we open below it, we would have to reclaim that. If you guys are looking for DGen 0 DTE max percentage, max percentages, I'll stick with 310 calls, possibly 309s. I'm not too sure how cheap those contracts get, but I would target that open state being presented at 311.72. Because one, we're in white space, standard deviation chart kind of chopped down in that golden zone, so volatility is ready any point now. And we're still far away from 80% upside, so I like that range given. So if you want to swing them, I'd go 2 weeks out and use that open state at 80% upside as your strike price.
And for people listening, the standard is kind of 2 weeks when you're swing trading. Is that what you referenced, Drew?
Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks. Another way I kind of calculate it is just look at previous days and kind of count out how many aggregations it takes to get to a certain point of target. So it seems like about a week or two. Sometimes these contracts are very cheap, so you can go 2-3 weeks out and find like a 20-cent contract, and it'll go in the money same week. That's my safety spot. But for downside, I use pullback, average pullback, and it gives you a kind of average aggregation it takes to get to that certain level. You guys didn't know about that? It's on graph settings.
You want to show them that real quick, BG? Yep, that's awesome. The average pullback on that, those settings are pretty nice.
Should be in the left side, I believe. Average, maybe.
So
Average
let's
pullback.
reload it.
Yeah.
Let's get off of wave 1. Let me go back to wave 7.
Yeah, I like to use on the wave 7. That's my like sweet spot.
Literally, like Russell's here taking notes on your screen.
Yeah. tells you how many days it will take to get to that certain price point. Gives you pretty much a game plan, so there's no way of not knowing what's going on. Use as reference. If you're not sure what strike price to pick, and so on. Good tool. I use it to my advantage for pullbacks. Hidden gem, honestly, I don't see a lot of people use that tool.
It's a nice little cheat sheet.
Impression trendline on GLD wave 1 daily. Show the wave 1. Raghov said it's a trend line compression. Oh, I see it. Oh god, that looks that looks nice.
Yeah.
That actually looks really nice. And if it goes either way, I mean, we have a bunch of open states to target, so it's like I'm not only sticking to upside. The only reason I'm sticking to upside is just because we have an open state up there on the 7 daily.
And we're currently north of vector. You could easily break that 307, and we play back down to, downside open states that you guys are seeing here. We got, zoom this in a little bit more, like 305.12 is an open state, 304.92. We also got our negative 1% here at 305.18. I'm disregarding those imprints. But same thing to that's the beautiful thing with this is you're never like, especially those traders coming into a market, making all-time highs. I hear the question a lot, like, okay, well, we're at all-time highs. What do I target next? And let me just show you guys something for Qs here. And this is something you're not going to find literally anywhere else. Let's go to wave 20. We don't even get done some couple thousand days here. Like we essentially have data-driven targets all the way up to 740. It's you can go more, but you're never left stranded on what next to target, compared to those that only trade to highs, or a lot of candle-based strategies kind of are compressed to these sort of highs, and kind of guidance, having the ability to navigate the markets too. Just a great outlook, honestly. Like you can see Q here, it's currently pressed into that 10% cluster band here on wave 20, 3,000 days to load.
Only one occurrence is
very,
this
very,
is pretty
very
impressive chart right here.
very.
So on the wave 20, you can count exactly how many times we've exceeded this kind of volatility. Like the stats on this is super impressive.
Let's say you just like you could it's like screaming at you. It's
5 times. 5 times out of 3,000 days.
Yeah.
Take a picture of that.
We have to see some heavy news to break that.
I'm about to say they got a headline cooking up. Give us a reason.
Like the open state would be nice to target, if anything, if we like to break above it.
And one aspect too is the splicing. So that's one component I don't see on your choice list right there. But as we kind of move forward, we'll be adding like the news splicing. So you can do like daily splicing, what does Monday over Monday do, or Friday over Friday do, or what does, Thursday, Friday splicing do? What is the range on that? Fractalize just like this. And it's pretty powerful. So we'll be able to pair news events in the future. Like if we're looking at, comparable news events, if we're looking at FOMC, we're looking at, jobless rates, we're looking at, current conditions, we'll be able to pair that and say, hey, what are the probabilities of this, that, and the other on these kind of data sets? So it's another component that we're building out towards as well.
It never ends.
Do you have splicing on there?
I don't think so.
So, yep, right click.
Let's see.
I think on the watch list, right?
Yep,
Yeah, you
on
go
the
on the
watch list.
Yeah.
I think from there you can just
So-
choose it.
You can do add. Yep.
Mm-mm-mm.
Do your cues. Now go to splicing tab. Yep. Do Thursday,
Wow.
Friday. Click both Thursday, Friday.
Oh man. Just do
Now
add.
add it. Yep.
Will it be anything different than what I just select? Like, will I have to select
It'll say,
anything new?
Oh
it'll say
yes, you'll see it. You'll see a difference here.
Here, I'm gonna turn off average pullback.
Russell
Get a little bit
notes.
less clustered. The Russell notes. Same with the guidance thing too. Those that are new to the software, guidance navigating fractal information, really really good at basic information. It's kind of like a little teacher on your hip. So yeah, vector now 561.
So this is a little hidden gem. Doing the splice data. I mean, doing day over day is can show some pretty powerful stuff. But if you do the paired, so since today's Thursday technically and tomorrow is Friday, we want to say, hey, what happens Thursday leading into Friday, week over week. So we kind of see this here, when we're looking at the 561.23 on Qs. We have
Yep.
561.80 there. Now, how often do we go above 565.33? Less than 50 percentile. Now you can look, to your left and see how many times have we exceeded that.
Very
And
low probability.
yeah, so these splicing charts are golden. Like I post on them all the time on RCG, and sometimes it's super apparent. Other times it's like, okay, well I'm gonna look at something else. But it's when they align like that, it's crazy ridiculous.
Redo it again. Leave this in. Would I have to re-add it, or can I do edit?
You just got to. It should say spliced. Yeah. Oh, okay. There you go. Now add. Click add. And QQ. There you go.
Oh,
Now you go.
I
There
see
you
it
go.
here now. Yeah. There we go. There. Oh
Now
yeah.
click it. There you go.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Hey, I cannot hear no more than 5 seconds at a time. That's weird. I can hear you guys fine. Multiple people in here.
It might be. Make sure. I think it was server muted. Make sure you guys right click and adjust the volume thing on the side. Let me try to. I'm hearing it fine. I can turn my volume up a little bit more.
I hear you guys pretty good too.
Yeah.
No
I'm gonna say,
delay.
I hear you fine. No. Discord. So I noticed. I mean, obviously, you're actually seeing 5% be touched on this chart now compared to the probability actually showing on that 2%. Like on non-skewed.
Yeah, I love my splice charts. Doing the
That's
day, the current day to the forward-looking day paired.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Because you can look at where you're capped, and if we lose vector, we know vector. If we lose vector, it becomes the new pivot, and we can look at the 80 percentile band below it for our targets. So it's really clean.
It's either that or they try to push us into 570s. But we got
Oh,
season in the way.
another tool BG is the average move on graph settings.
Oh
And
yeah,
just
show that real quick.
Yeah, that is nice.
I use that a lot with picking contracts as well. It's on the bottom right there.
Good
Middle.
protection.
Go down right there. You were just on it right there. Click on that tab down.
On
Well,
the down arrow. There you go. Yep.
just press average.
Now these are pretty powerful on Splice too.
You can do it on upside too.
Oh, you want to do it for both BG? Click on
Okay.
graph settings again.
Yeah, I got to do the upside one.
Yep.
There we go. Yeah. It's like that 50 to 50. It's just a kind of like a visual kind of that roll. 50 to 50.
Very cool tool. By the way,
Mm-hmm.
Does it do anything to OMM? Nope.
On the average move, no.
No. I don't know if it'd give us any.
So the average move, when you look at it, it's aggregated often the wave functions, often what you're choosing on graph settings. So on QQQ wave 1 daily, it's pulling the average move often the days you have loaded right now. So over 200 days, all those wave functions, highs, lows, mediums, everything is averaged into that band right there. So we know on average, we do not exceed above and we do not exceed below. And you can kind of see it on the chart right there. Like you can look at the past highs and lows, looking at the open states and closed states, like on the top side there, the average move, the green band. Like you can see how many times we kept inside.
Yeah.
And so those give really good cap moves. And I like using that, paired on that splice chart like you have right now on the wave one. That's pretty powerful. So like if you're looking for tomorrow, obviously we have the 50% band through 5781. But if we look just a hair above, where the top of that average move is, we're almost by 57. Yeah.
572, 59.
Yep. And you can look left and see, okay, wait a minute. How does that work? Well, look at all those. Look at all those.
Do I need to load more data? It's
Yep.
like...
And you also kind of consider too, like relative to the move. So where Q's closed at today, near the 562 mark there, how much average expansion do we have on a singular day? Is it more than 8 points? Not likely for a Friday.
That's a crazy day right there.
So we know if we get towards 8 points on Q's, well, that average band kind of plays right into play. Like I know fully to risk off because it's less than 5-10% exceeding above. The probable band say 50%, but it's spliced. So you got to kind of look at spliced and just the touch of a different mind frame. Like it's not like regular daily wave one daily. It's spliced. It's Thursday, Friday splice. So exceeding those bands, makes it that much harder because you're doing week over week instead of technically day over day. So they're actually stronger.
Yeah. Makes sense. Well, that is beautiful. I'm just gonna leave it like this.
Yeah. And so I'll do that every single day. I'll look at, if I was looking at tomorrow, which I kind of posted in RCG, Friday splice alone, and then Thursday, Friday splice. And I try to say, hey, is there data sets that, compile and overlay where I have 2 or 3 points that kind of overlay on the same, aspect, then I'm like, that's absolutely beautiful. So that's what I like to
Is
look
there like
for.
a max amount of days you'll do it with, like 2 or 3, or really just 2,
So
or
I usually 2, yes. So, and here's the other thing too. If I'm doing singular spliced, so if I'm looking at Friday over Friday splice, not Thursday, Friday, I'll expand it to the 500 day to open up the data. So you have Thursday Friday splice, right? Well, that's regular wave 1 daily. But if you did splicing,
I
I
had
would
like, yeah.
do 500. So if you do Friday, add Friday splice.
Oh, that was 200 days.
That's fine. Then you just go to the bottom of your chart, days load, and just change it to 500.
Oh yeah, 554.
Now you see it better.
Yeah, same thing he just covered.
Mhm.
Look at the topping around this. My cursor is. There's very, 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 very little room to exceed.
That's
And you
super
got
apparent.
ceiling, you got that, everything we just covered right there. So
And you got to keep in mind too, like these are Friday over Friday. So like the ones that are exceeding above, that's week over week on a Friday. So like you can kind of like see like the 50 or the 56 324 open state.
yeah,
That's pretty high for tomorrow. And that's
today.
week over week, right? And you can actually use this for swing trading quite often. Like
Wave
there's
one is one of my favorites for that. Just playing the daily, reversions. Sometimes we get a couple days of continuation on it. Um, yeah, I love the frequent, cycles, new cycles, bearish or bullish. But honestly, we might take out this 563.24 here post market or overnight. See if we get pressed into ceiling tomorrow morning. Fail to exceed ceiling or this that 563.24 and maybe see potential ghosts try to build and we'll see.
it's
Really
pretty
good.
powerful, yeah. If you start using the splice a little bit on those swing tradings and tracking those, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I'm going to. Wave one's the only time frame that you're looking at with it though.
Yeah, that's where it's most functional. You can use it with anything technically, but when you start getting to the way smaller time frames, looking at like 10 15 minute or looking at the 51, it's less powerful because you're looking essentially week over week. So looking at a 15-minute time period on a week or week kind of it's not as functional.
For sure. Noted. So I came on here to look at trying to give my own sauce, and like I'm leaving with some sauce.
Hey, it's a community. We all learn together. I see one thing, you see another, and I still learn from everybody too. So
Now I need you, sir, to give me a hands-on breakdown of those those in a day predictions.
yeah, it's pretty cool. You'll love that. Like what you see user posting every day. Like
Yeah,
that's kind of the automation aspect of what she's doing.
I noticed that. Oh, sorry, I think I said he earlier. I apologize for that. I noticed those popped up. This is pretty recent, right? That addition to toolbar.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Like last week, I think, or last 2 weeks, week and a half.
I'm gonna take advantage of that. That's gonna be cool, especially with degen time.
Yep. Typically, if you don't get a new high or new low, you pull that around 2 p.m. If we get a new high or new low, then you click it again, or reset it and re-click it, and it'll give you a new end of day close. So it's kind of based off the highs and lows, on the pullbacks, and it's pretty ridiculous how accurate it is.
I've been following it for a couple weeks, and I'm just like, this is just one of the things. Like, I need to learn that.
Well, now
You
you
guys
got a
already got a
user
freaking
click button.
button for it. Literally got it right
Yep,
here. That's awesome.
that is pretty awesome. Anybody else have any questions or would like to step up on the stage?
Got any more to add?
I don't know if you can talk, Russell, but did you want to step up? Oh, he's cranking away on the system. He's
Get
busy
it,
working.
get it, get it.
Yep,
He's in the lab.
he is.
Keep working. W Russell. You guys go show some love to everybody.
Oh, and this
They're
is
working hard.
pretty big motivation for him too. He enjoys listening to you guys and seeing you guys do this stuff, like utilizing it, and keeps giving him the power to keep cranking away. And
We
like he
got
was
some
saying,
wicked stuff.
oh yeah, he's probably cranking on the WebSocket server right now.
I don't even know what that is.
You guys will find out here shortly. He said, "You guessed it." Yes, I did.
Are the Russell indexes named after Russell?
I'm gonna say that's not wrong.
That's a good question. How can I get trained on the system like this amazing guy like me, Changer? Man, like Milk was saying earlier, I didn't want to promote it myself. Obviously, this is I want everybody to stay in the server, but we do a lot of these calls very very frequently um, in my server too. So you guys all obviously are all welcome to join that. Come say what's up, especially if you guys already have the system on your hands. If you're just looking for people to come kick it with, come check out some charts. You want to learn from people, whether that be just hanging out. Yeah, we make ourselves available to check out charts, do all this fun stuff daily. So come say what's up.
And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but you guys do promotions where you can enable free trials for certain
Yeah,
individuals if you deem
yeah.
worthy.
So if you guys do need access to it, I can get you guys access to it. Just come say what's up.
I come hang out, study with BG over in Blazen Trades. They do these homework sessions, study sessions almost nightly. And if you guys are super interested, he can enable a trial version for you guys to try and learn. While he probably works with you one-on-one a little bit. He does that like everybody just about. I'm gonna
Yeah.
say both you guys do actually. You guys are pretty intensive over there, so we appreciate that.
Certainly, it's something that it's you're not looking at it acting emotionally. It's all calculated in front of your eyes. It's a whole different outlook, and especially like I said, people coming. There's so many things people learn online about securities, all this stuff. Just being able to see it from this point of view is a game changer. So it's been a blessing to me. I want to help it be a blessing to others. So if you guys are interested, come check us out.
That's kind of for everybody that's kind of newer. I don't want to call it newer to trading, but of the retail market, which everybody listening probably is. When you move into actual firms, they look into quantitative data, right? So a lot of the market currently is algorithmic traded. When people talk about liquidity, stops, this, that, and the other that's going on, it's kind of almost fully automated to a certain degree. And they have to do this through quantitative data. Now, what we do is quantitative data. Russell has been doing this for over 20 years, building these systems for actual firms. I'm not going to name names because I don't know if that's violation of NDAs, but he's been actually building these same systems for these companies over the years that utilize quantitative analysis. They have to use data. It's not I think or feel. They don't use a trend line. They don't use, you know, breakout strategies. They don't use this and the other. It's all data. So this is exactly, what you're looking at when you look into a firm. If you're looking at JPM or all the other firms, it's they're not using their analysis from what they actually post in the news. They're not saying, hey, I look at the analysis, the key ratios, this and the other. It's more they're looking at a spectrum of the quantitative data analysis and putting on this. So when you look at the JPM legs, how they issue covered calls, and they're putting the legs on the puts, and it kind of drives the whole market. This is all data driven. It's not trend lines, it's not markups, it's all data. So that's the whole aspect of what Russell does with the fractal system. It's quantitative analysis. So, just kind of keep that in mind. You guys are in retail looking at this currently, what you kind of learn from, not to knock anything, but like looking at ICT, looking at certain patterns, repetitive patterns in the market, but they're not looking at it from a quantitative analysis aspect, forward projected like the system does. It's kind of a whole different ballpark. So like you can walk into the fractal system, RCG, BG, server, Blazens, like you can, everything you kind of knew before, I don't want to say you can throw it out the window, but all that stuff, like you almost don't even need to know any of it to
You don't
start
need it.
running the system. Yeah, you don't.
You
It's
do not
quantitative,
need
right?
it. Oh,
Like quant firms, so to speak, run the market. Not necessarily individual quants. There are several individual quants, but like all the big firms, they're all quantitative. So when I say, quant firms, every single firm out there has their quant leg that runs all their data aspects, has all their
yep.
data. That's what they make
Computers don't have
decisions on.
emotion.
Exactly. They're not like, hey, I think or feel. They're like, hey, it's ones and zeros, and this is what it tells us. Like, there's no think and feels. There's no magic trend lines. It's all quantitative. And that's kind of the
Yep.
beauty. Like the whole point of trading, if you kind of turn this into a profession or do it long enough, is to remove emotional bias, right? You want to, one of the biggest starting points I'm going to recommend for everybody listening, start with your word choices. Stop saying, I think, I feel, I hope, lucky, anything emotionally provoking verbiage. Just do not even use it in trading. And the second you do, stop yourself. Be like, okay, did I say I think or I feel? Well, obviously that's not data driven and that's not a probabilistic viewpoint. That's emotional biased. So I know the habits of emotional bias is you will not succeed long term.
Yep.
So practice good habits. And when you start speaking in probabilities and data and stop speaking in emotional verbiage, you're going to see that translate into your thought process, which what you see, you think, you feel turns into your actions. So if you can change all of that, starting with word choice, what you say affects what you think, and then affects your decisions. So kind of start there is just the fundamental practice. And it's going to take time. I'm not going to say it's going to happen tomorrow, but it takes 2 weeks to form a habit, 6 weeks to start to form a life change. So if you can check yourself for 2 weeks and change those behavior patterns for a minimum of 2 weeks, then you just started to form a habit. Now, if you can continue that for 6 weeks now you're starting to formulate a lifestyle change. And that's where it really starts happening. And it takes longer, obviously, than 6 weeks, but that's where the real change starts to happen for humans. Is that 6-week mark. So if you can carry that across those thresholds and then keep moving forward, you guys will start to do a lot better.
That's game. Very, very real. You'll see that, like you just said, a lot of beginner, hate to say, not even just beginner traders, just really you'll see it kind of depending on whatever form of in life they're in, using that
Mhm.
wordage. And just I got a buddy, every morning he'll be like, just watch, like, dude, shut up. Like you should try to push others around you to do that exact same thing, um, especially when you have the tools to be able to do such. Why wouldn't you? Sort of thing. So great
Yeah, I
points.
mean,
Great.
the biggest quant firms in the world, Russell knows what I'm talking about. But when you look at, like, say, Renaissance, which is probably the biggest and best quant firm in the world, what do they operate on? A 51% success probability.
Just slightly on their edge.
51%. Yeah, all they need is 51%. And they exceed the S&P year over year. They've only not exceeded the S&P, I think, like maybe 2 years and over 30 years right now. So it's pretty impressive. All you need is 51%. That's it. You don't have to be
And
right
then you
100% of the time. You don't have to be right 90% of the time. You just need 51%.
can look at your chart and see like a 2% or 5% setup. You're like, oh shit.
Yep, exactly. So the only thing that stops you is emotional bias, right?
You're like,
And
shit, what? Why is it down this low? And then it can't go do that, and then you see that exactly happen. I mean, we all watched it a couple earlier into this year, a little after March. Same thing. It's same cycles. I did want to bring this up real quick. I completely spaced this earlier. Um, One of the only things I look at really aside from the fractals is fear and greed. I don't know if Milk or anybody really follows this. I mean, there's not too much following to do. I just have like a motto for myself. Let me change my screen over. So this is simply literally on CNN. This is literally just fear and greed. So a motto I live by: be extremely greedy when we're in extreme fear, and be extremely fearful when we're in extreme greed. Um, just look at the timeline. Every big sort of flash crash, COVID, tariffs, Trump tweet, whatever the news is, you see this kind of correlate with such. I post this all the time on my Twitter too. So something very, very simple and very, very entry level, just a way to kind of gauge what the market's feeling. Yeah, completely off of but that's really it. I don't know if
no,
Milk.
that's a good that's actually a good point, BG, because if you're a investor, investing and day trading are two different mindsets, obviously. But Warren Buffett, you know, I'm not gonna preach him too much, but obviously he's, well successful, and he preaches this, when people are extremely greedy, be fearful. When people are extremely fearful, be greedy.
Yep.
And it goes to the underlining of when people are extremely fearful, it's like shopping on a discount. Like the most, like, you have a car, you're like,
It is.
man, that's a sweet car. They want 50 grand for it. And when it goes like half off because they can't sell it for 25 grand, you're like, hell yes, I'm going to buy it because they're fearful. They need to flash crash sell it. Like, I want to buy it at 25 grand if it's worth 50. Like, long term, the market is forever long. I don't care who you are, whatever you're thinking. Obviously, we as humans, we have a lifespan of 77 years or longer on average. If you're 20, 30 years old and we have a flash crash, like, it's just a buying opportunity.
Yep.
Like I mean, for some of you guys that are a little bit younger, I'm gonna guess, under 25, that kind of experienced COVID. We experienced what we had, the rate decisions and everything that's happened in the last, last 5 years. Did the market go to zero? No. Will it ever go to zero? No. We have retracements of like, 25-ish%. Those are buying opportunities. You already know, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now, you're going to be exponentially up.
Nope.
25%, 50%. And over your lifetime, over a 20, 30-year lifetime, on exponential growth, you're going to double, triple, quadruple, 10 tuctal, your whole investment.
You're gonna
So
be
it's kind
cozy.
of, yeah. You just gotta keep focused on the macro picture, right? Not what's happening today. Oh, the S&P dropped 2%. End of the world's coming. I don't give a hell
Yep.
about what's happening today. Like
Yep.
it's just like, hey, I'm going shopping and my favorite products are on sale. I'm gonna buy the whole rack. I'm gonna clear the whole rack. Like when I go shopping and my favorite things are on sale, I just buy it all. Like I just buy it all. Like that's just what I do
Yep.
because I know the value of it long term. Like I'm gonna save a ton of money and that's what I love. A year does not mess with me. 3 years does
Yeah.
not mess with me. 5 years does not mess with me.
Don't be the guy that we're sitting here at these all-time highs. Like, all right, shorten the trend, and then you actually get that move you're looking for. AKA, let's say we get put back into extreme fear, and then you're like stuck in that mindset. Like we're going to zero. Like what Milk just said. It's the counter of that. Understanding the longevity of it and kind of not just getting caught up in like you said, the micro economic point of views. Understand. We still got our lifetime. Hopefully, maybe we all have some offsprings too. They got their lifetimes. You got to think about things in the bigger picture, or depending on what type of style you're investing. Right? If you're looking long term, this is perfect.
Yep. And it's important to distinguish that between day trading and investing.
Exactly.
Like make sure to separate the two. And if you have a hard time separating the two, just do one or the other.
Yep. I'm glad I remembered that. 'Cause I love that. It's so simple, but
It
just
is.
simply just checking that out kind of just tells you just where we're at.
And a little recommendation too. If you're gonna do investing and day trading, do 2 different accounts.
Yes, yes, yes. You should have. Yeah, yes, yes.
Because
You,
it's
you
Sounds
it's too
awful.
easy. Yeah,
6
because
more yes.
your investing account, like, I don't want to say set it and forget it, but like you almost set it and forget it. Like you
Essentially,
see
yes.
buy opportunities and you're holding it for, you know, say 30 years, like, a dip for a day or a month or 6 months, it's not going to affect your 30-year goal. It's more of like, hey, everything's on sale. And if I have cash on the sideline, what can I go shopping and buy for a good value and add to my long term? that's what you really want to look for. Is value add. What's on discount.
Blue chips typically your best stay with growth stocks. For in war, maybe utilities or pharmaceuticals. Just depending on what sentiment is, but great points.
And always the one thing that's kind of what they say is recession proof is like cosmetics. Women buying cosmetics is
We all know why.
they're not going to stop buying it. They're not going to
They are
say,
not
hey, I'm
gonna,
not going to buy it. Yeah. So
not gonna
all the
stop.
professionals in the world always bet on that.
It's crazy to think about.
It's true though. And then there's other things too, like not to get too deep, but like underwear. Like, companies that sell undergarments,
Stuff like
socks,
that
stuff
gets
like that.
overlooked though. Yeah,
It does.
like your
People don't.
daily things, your
Hmm.
water bill, your everything. Be interesting to see.
Yep. Good discussions.
Covered a lot.
Yeah, cover. I'm trying to sit
Well,
here and think what we haven't covered.
you guys kind of, you guys do awesome on Blazen trades. You kind of do a daily thing with the study sessions and go over them, and that's kind of the cool thing, with day trading is like the market's always evolving. There's new conditions. Make sure you're reading the current conditions, what's going on, what data points. And so like continually staying on that for day trading is pretty important. It's
Very, yeah. Don't be the
it's a
guy you answer and you got consumer at 10 a.m. and you're just like, what the hell was that?
yeah. Yeah, when I see messages on there like what just happened? What was that candle? I'm like, did you
I'm like,
even bother to look?
nope, I'm trading it though. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
you're not gonna
Be
last long.
yeah,
Respectfully.
be informed. Like if you're going
Just
in the
being
next session, is there any catalyst? Is there anything that could create large volatility? Okay. So I'm
I'm putting my
informed
money
now.
on it. I'd like to know what the hell's going on,
Yeah, Google is a great resource. So make sure you utilize that.
While I'm on freaking Explore, I don't know why I have this on my pin bar.
Oh
Don't
boy.
use Explorer sucks.
That's all right. I think Russell still has Explorer on his too.
Probably. I still have the activate Windows watermark bottom right of my screen. I need Russell's help on.
He
Code
hates
blocking.
Bill Gates.
He hates Bill Gates.
He does.
Russell, it's nice to meet you. I don't think I've ever spoken to Russell, but it's
No?
nice to be in the same call as you, Russell. I love what you guys do.
Oh, he's typing right now.
Oh no.
I think he's still cranking away.
He said, thanks for inviting me. I invited you. That's crazy. No, thanks for having me. But yeah, is there anything else that we should hit on while we're here, or it's getting kind of late for me? I need to go take a shower and get ready for bed.
I just want to reiterate too, I didn't talk about this earlier. We have the study chat too and VC and Russell Capital Group. So like, if you guys ever want to hop on and do a session, do a study session, whatever you can in RCG, but you guys do awesome in Blazen anyway, so
For sure. Where is
it's
that?
an option.
Hold
It's
up.
over by a study group.
Study forum. Oh yeah. Oh, I see it. Perfect. Yep.
Yep. Study group VC. Yep. So if you guys ever want to hop on, whatever, you guys are more than welcome to.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. I'd love to do that.
And if you
Like,
guys want to invite and kind of share with other people too, that's awesome as well.
Drag some heads in there.
Hmm.
I'd love to. That's the saying. I expect it's a lot better, like when everybody is sitting here with the software in front of them. Then you got all these heads looking at all these different things, and that's how it should be.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
just nice. It's nice.
It is. And it's all about what I call personality trade types. So, identifying what your trading personality type is almost more important than anything because, you know, how your brain functions, what your risk appetite is, how you think, how you do everything in life kind of curtails to how you're going to trade. So, whether you're a swing trader, an intraday trader, a scalper, an intraday swing trader, looking at indices, ETFs, small caps, crypto, what suits like how you trade, and there's always a niche for everybody, if you can identify that. And it's pretty important to do that. So like, how I specialize in the S&P, some people love NQ, QQQ, you know, that's awesome. They specialize in that. I specialize in S&P.
Yep.
I know
And
that
sometimes,
inside and out, and it suits me very, very well.
yeah, you'll see a lot of times people try to take on 100 different symbols at the same time, and you
Right.
just kind of left overwhelmed, or you're forgetting setups. You select it, whether that be Q's, a SPY, or in a couple blue chips, or whatever holdings may be on whatever you're trading. But a handful, you don't want to overwhelm yourself, especially with what you just said, your investment type. Because the last thing you want to do is get a good setup and then you're confused by the other mediocre setups and or so forth. Just having your focus and a handful of options instead of trying to do everything.
Yep. There's kind of a saying, anything good is rarely rushed, and anything rushed is rarely good. So if you're trying to rush and do 10,000 things at once, you're probably not going to do good at all those things.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be mediocre.
Mhm. So, learn to master a couple things that suit you very well and your personality type, trading personality type, and then build from there. Don't try to do all the things at once. You know, do what you do well at first and just build off that. And be a student of the market overall. Like,
Be always a
uh,
student. I don't care how smart you
mhm.
are. I bet Russell probably learned something new today too. In milk, like that. You're always aspiring to be a student. You never want to be the smartest one in the room. That's how you need a new room.